Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another exciting episode of This Is Our Life. I'm having to be quiet, and I have this light on because my wife is asleep in the bedroom. So I'm trying to be quiet. Gosh, how do I make this? Yeah. I just got an email. It was really nice hearing from this person. His name is Steve. I'm not going to give his last name. But he's the first person I found that was in an Edgemeade facility. He wasn't in the same one I was in. He was in what I think he said Maryland and Virginia. I was never in one of those. I was in Texas. All the institutions I was in were in Texas. Um, hey Maggie, well, we got to be careful here because Maggie's on top of the tower. I don't want her to turn it off. She has a habit of doing that. Maggie's one of our cats. My wife is from Illinois. I'm from Spain, but I lived in Texas for 40 years. And, well, I'm glad to be gone. Um, not all my memories from Edgemeade are bad. Not by a long shot. I mean, frankly, it was better than my home life was. Um, and look, I'll admit it took years for me to get over certain things or to deal with certain things, to accept the way certain things are. But basically, bad things happen to people. Sad to say, but bad things happen to people. So I thought I would, for Steve and for anybody else, I thought I'd tell you all some stories about Edgemeade. And first of all, Edgemeade was on old Fort Walters. It was a decommissioned army base. And one of my friends on Facebook, her husband went to helicopter training at Fort Walter in Texas. Yet she's a New Hampshire lady. I don't know where her husband's from. Um, like I said, I lived in Texas 40 years. Um, well, well, I miss the food. That's all I miss about Texas. There was a girl, I think, from Abilene. I'm not sure. I think she may have been from Abilene or somewhere out in West Texas. A lot of the kids were not even from Texas. There was Therese Kirshner. She was from New York City. And in the mid 80s, I saw her on CNN as a part of a program there's a psychiatrist. Yes, this is a real psychiatrist. You can look him up. Named Dr. Pepper. That's Dr. Pepper. You imagine? Hey, Dr. Pepper, can I have something to drink? Um, but and then there was David. Oh gosh, David Peck. I found his name on the AIDS quilt, which actually doesn't surprise me at all. Now, Charisse, I had a black and white picture of her. She was on the girls' basketball team, and I don't know if she would want me to say this, but yeah, she used to say Charisse Kirshner, Kirshner, just like Don Kirshner's rock concert. But she repeated everything like 5 times. When she first arrived, it was like that, and then she'd only repeat everything like 3 times, like, three, times. There was Ray John was a nickname for this one kid. He was a black kid. He was kind of small. We had a mini riot, and the cops were called and everything. Did I participate in it? Not really. I mean, I went outside and I threw a rock against the building. That was it. Almost got to go see John Denver. The Laboons, Debbie and Frank Laboon, who are our teachers, and the dorm was named after them. We only had one dorm. And when I was leaving, we were preparing the other barrack, turn it into a dorm. But I don't know if they ever turned it into a dorm or not. Can you imagine having to clean a barrack that's been empty for 10, 15, 20 years, and it's in that part of Texas where it's dry, and well, all of Texas, most of Texas tends to be dry, not all of it. I lived in every part of Texas except West Texas, the Panhandle, and the Valley. I lived in the Hill Country, I lived in East Texas, I lived in Central Texas, I lived in South Texas, I lived in North Texas, mainly because of the institutions, all these different institutions. But Ray John, he was from D.C. He got hit on the belly. He had like these six-pack abs or whatever. He liked to go shirtless to show it off. And we had the mini riot, one of the cops hit him in the belly with a billy club, and he had this big old scar after that because of that. We had a bowling team, which I loved. We were in a bowling league, part of a bowling league. I loved that. And a softball team. A softball team. His name is Maggie. Yes, Maggie's in heat. So, meow. You hear her grumbling? The softball team. We won one game. Um, we won one game, but I think we all enjoyed doing that, playing softball. The team we played this one team twice. It was like our first and last games. And the first game they were just having a ball out there. They purposely, I mean they let us win. They were purposely throwing the ball over each other or rolling on the ground, stuff like that. And when we played them again, they beat us like you wouldn't believe. And there was this one guy. He was from Houston, and I was from outside of Houston. And he was a big, heavy-set guy. And we had each. See, the barracks was built. It was on top of a hill, and one hallway was for the boys, one hallway was for the girls, and each had like a little TV room. And we were bowling. We're at the bowling alley, and he was sitting in a chair, and I mean, the legs went like that. He was a big, heavy-set guy. But anyway, the campus. Supposedly, I don't. This is what I remember. The hospital. They owned the hospital, but we didn't use the hospital. Supposedly, the trays and silverware and stuff like that came from the hospital. I remember the kids talking about going over there, getting the stuff, and taking it over to the administration building. This is an old army base, mind you. Fort Walters, and it's not spelled like you might expect it to be spelled. It's Mineral Wells, Texas, west of Fort Worth. Um, there was the hospital. There was a gymnasium. There was the pool, which they leased to the city or town. Mineral Wells wasn't much of anything back then, and it's more now, but still not that much. Um, there was the administration building. There were 4 officers' quarters, which one eventually was used as an isolation building. Otherwise, like the administrator lived in it. We had one administrator. He was a Texas boy, redneck Texas boy. He was a good old boy. I mean, he was a good guy. And then the next guy they brought in, he was from like New York. He was gay, and he liked frogs or toads or something. And the lady who was the secretary, her husband helped build the Panama Canal. I remember that. And we had a talent show once. Well, anyway, so we had the hospital, the pool, the gymnasium, the administration building, the 4 officers' quarters, the 2 barracks, and the rec hall. Now, when my wife and I drove up here, the first time we came up here, we came up here, got settled, went back to Texas, got our stuff. And then the people we left our stuff with took some of it, sold it. But the first time we came up, we went to Edgemeade, to what used to be Edgemeade. It's been gone a long time. Both barracks are gone. The swimming pool building is gone, and the pool's filled in. The gymnasium's gone. The only things that were left, the administration building, which looked like there had been a fire or some sort of damage. The rec hall, which looked like somebody was living in it like a house. So in the hospital, there's only 3 buildings left. Mm. Once somebody donated a bunch of bicycles, and I remember I would ride all over the place. I'd ride into town, I'd ride around the base, and I never got in trouble for it. We weren't supposed to be riding in all these places, but I did. I never got in trouble. I'm a redneck. I dip, and we weren't allowed to dip. We could smoke, but you couldn't dip. I never figured out why. My first thing I dipped was Copenhagen. And that was while I was in Edgemeade, and I almost got busted because I had spit it out into the sink in my room, my dorm, because like I said, it's an old army barrack, and each room, there were 2 rooms that shared a bathroom, so 1 bathroom for 2 rooms, and I spit it out in the sink, and one of the staff, he noticed the little bits of tobacco. He said, "Hey, you dipping?" I'm like, "No." And when you're in those places, you learn how to get out of trouble. But they hired these 2 guys from up north. Don't remember from where up north, but they hired these 2 guys from up north. And see, the reason I got sent there was because this other place I was in, Houston International Hospital, HIH, in Houston International Hospital. I went out on pass with this one lady. She was a staff member on the PDAP unit. But see, I knew her from another place I had been in. So she takes me out on pass. She was going to take me to see Queen. But the nurse supervisor or whatever said, "No, absolutely not." Well, by the end of the day, we go over to her place. She pulls out a tin and rolls a joint, and we pass it back and forth. I go back. Every time you went back from pass, you had to do a UA. Some of the kids had to do a body cavity search. I never had to do that, but I had to do a UA. And of course, it came back positive, so they sent me to Edgemeade. Smoke 1 joint, and that's what happened. And it's like I went from one place to another place to another place to another place. But these 2 guys, I hired these 2 guys, and one day they're out under this huge oak tree out in front of the dorm, and they're all sitting in this circle. And I go out there, I was going to go over there, right? And one of the staff said, "Go back in, go back in." Like, what's going on, man? Well, it turns out they were toking. They were passing a joint around. So, they got fired real fast. But most of the people there, most of the people that work there, I like. Those 2 guys, but there was one lady who I didn't like. But otherwise, I liked the people that work there. The lady in the kitchen, the cook, 1 person, just her. Although one of my jobs, I had my first jobs there. I mean, I worked in the kitchen. I was a dishwasher. Um, and another job I had doing custodial work, cleaning the dorms and everything, which was pretty cool. We had to do our own laundry, though. I remember that. But anyway, yeah, I have fond memories from Edgemeade. And David Peck, not so fond memories of.